Many years ago, two brothers built a replica First World War biplane right here at Sywell Aerodrome. It was made for a film company that was going to put the fictional aviation hero Biggles on the big screen. But things didn't quite go to plan. This is an amazing story that we first started on Inside Out 6 years ago, and now finally, tonight, the conclusion. Biggles was Britain's most famous aviation hero. The stories were written by a Hertfordshire pilot. The fictional First World War fighter pilot Biggles inspired a whole generation of pilots. He was created by author W.E. Johns. He used his experiences as a bomber pilot in the First World War to write almost 100 books about Biggles.
Biggles, I think, inspired a whole generation of people to take an interest in flying, and many of those people then went through to learn to fly themselves. And certainly from the 1920s and the 1930s, we got the cadre of pilots that became the Battle of Britain pilots. They became the dam busters. They became the people who won the Second World War. I'm inspired to take an interest in aviation, thanks to good old Biggles.
The Biggles books were a huge hit all over the world, and in the 1960s, Hollywood beckoned. Biggles would be on the big screen, and two men from Northamptonshire were chosen to build the plane that would make Biggles fly.
My brother Charles and I were asked to design and build a BE-2C biplane, World War I biplane, which was over a very short period of time, only 13 weeks. This was for Universal Films, who were making the film on Biggles, James Bigglesworth, and it was to be called Biggles Sweeps the Skies.
This is one of the only copies of the script that exists, the script that was to put Biggles on the big screen. But sadly, it wasn't to be.
It was never finished, unfortunately, because the other company that were producing replicas didn't complete their aircraft on time. We did, fortunately. But it was due to be filmed in Tunisia, and as a result of the next boat being delayed, it would have been too hot in Tunisia to do the flying, and so it was never made. And the aeroplane was sold privately to America, the BE-2C.
Charles Boddington never got to fly the biplane again. In the 70s, while filming a war movie, the man who tried to bring Biggles' aircraft to the silver screen was killed in an air crash. As for the plane which should have brought Biggles to cinema audiences, well, that crashed in Wisconsin in 1977, and the remains of the aircraft disappeared. But in the true spirit of Biggles, it certainly wasn't the end of the story. This is Matt Boddington. He was just a boy when his father was killed. Matt's also passionate about aviation.
My father really inspired me to fly. It was really in the blood from an early age. My father did a lot of flying, a lot of film flying, and at the age of 1, I actually flew from this airfield here on my father's lap. So from that point, I've always wanted to fly. I'm in the enviable position, really, that I get to spend my days playing with old aeroplanes. I restore, maintain and fly vintage aeroplanes.
But where was that one vintage plane his father had built for the Biggles film? A tip-off led to New York State. Hidden in a barn in a town called Rhinebeck, there she was, Biggles' biplane. An emotional moment for Matthew.
Finally, after all this time, I never thought I'd even get to this stage, so to actually be sitting in it, even now, it's quite amazing.
Having tracked it down, Matt was determined to get his late father's plane back to Northamptonshire so he could rebuild it.
Once we got the aeroplane back here, it was all mixed emotions, really. It was a sense of relief, really, that it had got back here, ostensibly in one bit, or as much of one bit as it still was, but also quite emotional that the fact that it was now back here where Dad built it and where it first flew. Dad would definitely have wanted to see the aeroplane flying again. It was built by him for a film about Biggles, so he would definitely have wanted to see Biggles' biplane flying again.
It's been 6 years since we last filmed with Matt Boddington. He and his team have been hard at work in this workshop at Sywell Aerodrome in Northamptonshire.
It doesn't seem like 6 years ago that the BE2 arrived here back at Sywell. We've had a few hiccups along the way, as you'd expect. It's on the whole gone well. It's gone, by the sounds of it, pretty much the same as it did before. The difference is obviously last time it took them 13 weeks and it's taken us 6 years.
Sadly, Matt's uncle, David Boddington, who designed the original plane, didn't live long enough to see it fly again.
Uncle David died last year from cancer. He had Hodgkin's lymphoma. We hoped that he may be able to fight it off and be here to see it fly. Sadly, he didn't. So now it's a tribute to both of them, really, both my father and my uncle.
After 6 years of hard work, Biggles biplane is rolled out of the hangar. First flown by the late Charles Boddington in the 1960s, and now decades later, she will fly again with his son at the controls. It's an emotional moment for the family.
My heart's going like this, and I have a big lump in my throat, but I'm so proud of my son. Charles's ashes are sprinkled on Sywell, and I like to think he was watching over him and guiding him along there, but he'd be so proud of him.
Well, this is it, the moment everyone has been waiting for years. In front of family and friends, Biggles biplane will take to the skies, a tribute to the Boddington brothers who originally built it. But then a setback. It's too windy for the delicate plane to take off.
We've just had a report from another airplane that's taken off that says although the winds are this at ground level, within a couple of 100 feet, it's a lot bumpier and a lot more turbulent. So unfortunately, we can't fly the airplane at the moment.
Disappointed at the moment?
At the moment, yes. We're hopeful with the wind will drop. Fingers crossed it will drop and then we'll fly.
After a 2-hour wait, finally, the moment is here. Right, they've had a stroke of luck. The wind's dropped just enough for Matt to be able to fly the biplane. So hopefully, they'll get in the air.
It is a special, special thing. But, well, you know, the big thing now is the safe landing. And, you know, it's all very well going up. What goes up has to come back down. As my wife put it, that's our pension fund.
So how was that, Matt?
Wonderful. Funny
Yeah.
emotions, but yes, fantastic. She flies beautifully. It wasn't until I was sort of up above the field initially that I sort of had time to sort of settle and think about things. And yeah, I think I had a couple of passengers in the front seat.